And there's a whiz through the start list for the first race today, the women's under-20 race. Tobias Schmidt, sole representative from Austria. Big, strong Spanish contingent. They have had winners in this event before and team medals galore. To Britain, spearheaded by the defending champion Ines Fitzgerald. France took the silver medal last year behind Britain. Britain only scored 9 points last year. It was absolutely ridiculous. The German team just off the podium last year, looking to try and get involved as well. As the Italians, they took the team bronze last year. They have got that strength in depth. These Latvians, team from the Netherlands, and Nygaard V, one of the strong Norwegian team, was hoping they might be in contention for their first ever medal, the Norwegians. And they have had a late withdrawal from Vilmor Beckman Torbjornsson. But we're going to see some of the lead contenders. This is Carolina Correia of Portugal. We mentioned it already, the Portuguese national championships were here 2 weeks ago. Those that qualified for the team had a training camp here over the last couple of weeks. They certainly will have an advantage of being familiar with the twists and turns here. Julia Earl in Germany was 4th last year, just behind Sofia Torgersen. Danish athlete will go in the under-23 race this year. But Earl improved in the track season. She took a bronze at the under-20 championships in Tampere. Adibe Yahiz took a silver ahead of Earl in that 5,000 metres and was 4th in the 3,000. This is her 4th appearance here at the European Junior cross-country race, and the Turkish woman could be finally in line for a cross-country medal. Carmen Sernjul of Sweden, in a very impressive range. She's the national under-20 record holder for 800 and 5,000, and she'll compare her silver medals in the summer at the track championships. Here is Andrea Nygaard V of Norway. She's the European under-20 steeplechase champion. We haven't mentioned the man-made obstacles here on the course, but they could be light work for Nygaard V compared to some of the other athletes out here. Here is the British athlete Ines Fitzgerald, the defending champion. She's got an opportunity to match another British athlete, Steph Twell. We're getting a hat-trick of under-20 continental European cross-country titles today, and there they all go. They're going to go back to their teams as we toe the line for the first race here at the European Cross Country Championships. It was a nervous wait there for these women. You could see the nerves. Some of the athletes wobbling on the line. It's important to get this first 500, 600 metres right. They've gone up this small hill, they'll then go onto the gravel, and then it's not very long at all before the course narrows and they start taking these twists and turns, the first of which will be a left-hand turn. So if you're on that left-hand side, you need to be careful. You're not going to get boxed in and flywheeled. Here we go. That's the narrowing of the course there. Already you can see in the middle of the pack, real issues for some of those women on the left-hand side of the course. Gonzalez Gutierrez, a Spanish contingent, doing very well through the first 500 or 600 metres here.
Well, 96 starters. I mean, they've been running 45 seconds and it's already narrowed down. I don't think the narrowing will be a problem. I think where it'll be a challenge is on the twists and turns. You know, if you don't get a good line at the various twists and turns, and that's probably why the Spanish squad was so close to the front there. They'd all been told, get out there and get a good run at the twists and turns. Because if you have a difficult time at all the corners, then you're going to be running extra meters and banging into people. It's supposed to be a non-contact sport, but there was a lot of contact on the start line there and a bit of pushing and shoving. And you can see here already how densely packed they are on some of these turns.
I can see real intent here from Julia Earl, a German woman. Mentioned she was just off the podium last year in Antalya. I think she was in a podium position until those final few moments she got overhauled by Torgersen. So Earl, using her experience from this event, she's been here before. She knows her way onto a European podium on the track. So Earl doing really well here. You can see Fitzgerald not missing a beat. A defending championship. I mean, what do you think here, Tim, for Fitzgerald? Does she just relax in for a couple of laps and then try and push? Will she be expecting someone else to push the pace? This is perhaps unusual. Fitzgerald is such an aggressive front runner. She might have been expecting that she would have had to push the pace.
Yeah, but I think she'll probably be glad about this. I mean, Erla is acting as a sort of pacemaker for her. She's cleared out nice and quickly. I mean, she's really blasted away here, Erla. I wonder how long she can sustain this. And there you go, Innes Fitzgerald, coached by Gavin Pavey down in Devon. What a great pairing they are, along with Joe Pavey, of course, former European champion at 10,000 metres. And Joe and Gavin, a fabulous team with Innes. And I think Innes is thinking, no, you know, if you're going to throw it at me that hard, have something back. And there won't be many in that top 10 who can sustain this sort of vicious opening lap. I mean, this is really quick. It's so aggressive. 2 minutes 45 on the clock. And look at the gaps already.
And that's a wonderful aerial shot there we got from one of the cameras, just to show you the way this course just dips and dives and whirls. And Fitzgerald now out in the lead. And Erla, I've been told by our statistician Mark Butler, who's here to help us throughout the day, she is a world mountain running champion. And I think on a course like this, with the twists and turns, with the short, sharp kicks up, that's the sort of thing. I think if you're a steeplechaser or a mountain runner, you'd be looking at this course saying that's going to play into my favour, as Fitzgerald piles on the place. And it's, he's of Turkey, just moving herself up into third place.
The thing is, this is a 4.5 kilometre circuit, a race. Innes Fitzgerald in the lead there from Germany's Erla is over a minute quicker at 5,000 metres than Erla. So it is an interesting clash, and you make a really good point that Erla is a mountain running specialist. Innes Fitzgerald, though, is head and shoulders above the rest on paper. That doesn't necessarily mean that she will walk away with this one very comfortably, even though she's going for her third consecutive title here. But it would need to be a bit of a disaster for Innes Fitzgerald of Great Britain to not win this one. The gap's opening up already, and you know, the fact that those gaps are opening up, Hannah, with 4 minutes on the clock, shows quite a few of those athletes in the top 20 are already redlining. They're pushing it. They're being dragged out to the absolute extreme of what they're capable of.
And we've seen sort of mixed fortunes over the last 3 years for women that try and run with Innes Fitzgerald. Some of them manage to hold on and they get pulled away to a medal. Jess Bailey, a British teammate, took the silver last year, and I think part of that was sort of the bravery to try and stick with Fitzgerald. With Jade Lagoa in Belgium, she really struggled a couple of years ago because she tried to match the Brit. And Erla already, she's letting that gap open up on Fitzgerald. And Julia Erla, you've got to worry for her with the strength and depth that's coming up behind her. Adibe Hayes looks full of running. Good showing as well from Carmen Sernjul, Swedish athlete. So I'm worried about the German here because there's a group of women working together. This is the end of the first lap. There they are, coming down the short sharp bend past the start line.
This is tough, this little loop here. The going underfoot isn't too bad. It's a little bit softer, of course. It's actually turf that's been laid specially for the races. But Fitzgerald away now. That's what, about a 30-metre lead. And after the first lap, Spain are in the lead in the team race from Turkey and Sweden. Great Britain, even though Fitzgerald leads, down in 6th place at the moment. Ireland in 4th, Netherlands in 5th after one lap. And she's grimacing, she's working hard, and that's hardly surprising, Hannah, when you think how hard this first 5 minutes has been. Erla may suffer for this because that pack, I think, is closing up on the Germans.
So good pack in there from the Spaniards. You can see 3 in the top 10. That's why they have the lead overall in the team standings. But there's no way to run for this to be an easy race. It's like a 4 hurdles. You know, you say it doesn't matter how you run it, it's still going to be hard. You've got to apply yourself. And we'll have a look here again. We saw this on the first lap with the big pack. There's 3 little divots here. They're awkward. You might be tempted to hurdle them, but they're probably a bit too wide. You've got to get a foot on the top of them. And you can see Erla, she's not going as fast over those as she was a lap ago.
I was going to say they break up your rhythm, but it's hard to develop a rhythm on this anyway. The advantage for Innes Fitzgerald now is that she can just focus on her own effort. She's not thinking about racing anyone. She can just really concentrate on gauging her effort right over this next lap and a half, because we are 6 minutes in. She's almost at the halfway point now. Talking to her coach Gavin, he was saying her training is nothing special. It's a very, very simple 7-day cycle. She's on the track once a week. She does 2 other sessions a week, 1 long reps. She does a hill session once a week and then a bit of running in between. But I think, you know, Gavin's got a wise old head in his shoulders, and with the knowledge of Joe, who of course has been a fabulous athlete in British colours for 20 years, his wife, they are managing Innes's development really wisely, I think.
And you could say someone like Ines Fitzgerald, she went to the World Championships as a senior European indoors at a senior level in the last year, representing Britain. And she broke Zola Budd's European 5K record. That was phenomenal. She didn't just break it, she took 9 seconds off it. And she has graduated into those senior ranks. And you'd be excused for saying, why are you coming and running the junior race? It'd be interesting to see her up against, trying to battle into the top 10 in that senior women's race. But it matters to these athletes. They love, the under 20 age group. This will be Ines Fitzgerald's last race as an under 20 athlete. She wants to go out with a bang. She wants to get that hat trick of titles, and she's really, really pushing herself here, Fitzgerald. And I mean, there is concern for me. The level of fatigue etched on her face there is pretty extreme. She's got, I think it's a 13-second lead at the moment ahead of, he's the Turkish athlete. He's in second place at the moment. And you'd say that's okay, but she's looking pretty tired, well over the halfway point here. If you remember Fitzgerald, the very first time she came to the European Cross-Country Championships in Turin, she tried to employ these front-running tactics that had worked fine in Britain against domestic competition. And she came unstuck. She was off the podium. She was down in 4th place. And every championship since then, we've seen a more measured approach from Ines Fitzgerald. There was a wonderful win in Brussels and then a win in Antalya. And I think now with that confidence from the elevation in performance, she's back to this aggressive front-running style. I think it'll be fine, but I'm impressed with the effort she's putting in here. She could have just chilled in the pack and then tried to put the foot down on the final lap.
Well, this is interesting. Giz, one of the pre-race favourites of Turkey, has taken over from Erla in second place. Erla now being sucked into that chasing pack, but Fitzgerald, you're right, Hannah, after the first lap she was 13 seconds clear. I wonder how far clear she's going to be come the finish line. I think the gap is growing all the time. Let's not forget that when she won the double gold at the European Juniors this summer in Tampere, over 3,000 and 5,000, she won the 3,000 by 22 seconds, she won the 5,000 by 34 seconds. And I think this winning margin today, barring disaster for the Brit, is going to be something of that order. That's the bell. 2 laps done.
And that was a look at, in some of the later races, we might have a few closer races. The section Ines Fitzgerald has just done, that's the best running, if you like. That's the longest, straightest running you're going to get. And that could be very crucial in some of the closer races later on in terms of trying to get yourself into a good position before you swing to that finishing straight. But Ines Fitzgerald, look at the size of that lead. Maybe that's the pain. That's why the pain's etched all over her face, because she's absolutely going for it here, Fitzgerald. She's been credited with a 24-second lead ahead of Anna Gardner of Ireland. There were a couple of Irish vests floating around in that top 10, and Gardner just launching a challenge here in the last circuit. And it's been, he's been doing a lot of the work, but now we've got Gardner and Hickey, 2 Irish women side by side. They could have judged this very, very well. I think anyone that moves through as you approach the final lap is someone to take seriously. Erda is still there, as is Sernjul, a Swedish athlete. You can see he's just starting to struggle ever so slightly. The Turkish woman was doing a lot of the pushing on that chase pack on the first and second laps.
Well, the biggest winning margin ever in this age group on the women's side is 25 seconds, and Fitzgerald already with 24 seconds with a lap to go, and surely, even though she's grimacing, she's going to widen that gap. The Irish, mind you, going fantastically in second and third places. That'll be good for them in the team race. Let's just take a look. Spain in the lead after 2 laps, with Great Britain having moved up to second, from Sweden in third, Ireland in fourth, Turkey in 5th. But I think the Irish are coming through. They may well end up in the medals, just outside the medals after 2 of the 3 laps.
It's fantastic packing there from Gardner and Hickey, just working together, pushing and pushing. And I'm looking over kind of past results here. I can't see any individual or team medals for Ireland historically in this event. And Gardner and Hickey, they'll be hoping they can be backed up by Smith, Foster and Cooney further down the course. If they can move, if they're all moving through, if they've got a team tactic here, could we see Ireland take the first ever individual and team medals in this under-20 race? So Fitzgerald, no issues here. You can see perhaps a kilometre to go if that graphic's correct. She's on 3.4 kilometres here. It is such a fast and furious race, this under-20 women's. We've seen some super close races over the years, but Fitzgerald has made this event her own in the last 3 years.
Well, she only won last year by, I say only, by 11 seconds from Jess Bailey, her teammate, with Torgerson of Denmark a further, 5 seconds back. But Fitzgerald here, that lead is growing all the time. She is working hard. I mean, I think Erla probably upset everybody with that ridiculously quick first kilometre or so, and it probably put a lot of women in a bit of trouble because they tried to go with it. And then, of course, the lactic builds. You know, there's not really much respite on this circuit to get over that initial shock to your system. Innes, I think, is really suffering here, but still running strongly. And, you know, speaking to Gavin yesterday, he said her training is a very, very ordinary training week. There's nothing particularly special about it, but she did put in a very special session on Tuesday, which boosted her confidence and told them she is absolutely on song for this race today.
And look at that from Innes Fitzgerald. We've mentioned it time and time again, going for a hat-trick of titles, a minute faster than anyone else this season over 5K, but she's still looking behind. And that's just what athletics is. You second-guess yourself, you doubt yourself, you're pushing and you're pushing, you're pushing. There'll be some crowd support here. She might be getting input from friends or family or team coaches, or maybe even Gavin Pavey, her coach, to say, don't worry, you've got a huge lead. And it was a strong move going on from Emma Hickey, but she's been joined here by the Frenchwoman, Lucy Patul. There's been some very well-judged runs in this final lap. Yeah, he's still there, the athlete from Turkey. I mentioned this is her 4th try at this race. She's not made it onto the podium yet. She'll be desperate to try and do that. It's all to fight for behind. Their medals are very close. As Fitzgerald stretches out over half a minute ahead of anyone else in Europe.
I mean, that is ridiculous, over 15 minutes of running. In fact, that 30-second lead was after 11 minutes, 20 seconds of running. I mean, astonishing dominance. Britain, if she can be managed well by Joe and Gavin over these next few years, Great Britain have a wonderful talent here, an athlete who at senior level will be a major factor in major championships, and maybe this summer come the Europeans and Commonwealths.
Fitzgerald here, just entering into the final section of the course. This is the penultimate finish straight, if you like, before the finish, we can't call it a straight, before the finish pen of 20 or 25 metres or so. So Fitzgerald, 14 minutes, 15 seconds on the clock so far. She's made light work of a very tricky course here. She could be on for one of the biggest winning margins we've ever seen in this under-20 women's age group. She takes the final corner, and there'll be nothing but daylight between Innes Fitzgerald and her 3rd straight European cross-country title in the under-20 category. She raises 3 fingers aloft. She matches the feats of Steph Twell, the British athlete. They are the only 2 ever to have taken 3 titles.
Isn't that great to see her sitting, though, Hannah, after she's crossed the line? It shows she is mortal. She's given absolutely everything. She's absolutely worn out there. 14:35 got her winning time at 14:36 there. Bottom right of your picture. Look at the winning margin.
Lucy Patul of France coming through for a well-judged silver medal. 30 seconds behind Fitzgerald, but what a run from her. And Hickey comes through for the bronze medal, the first ever Irish individual event. A medal in this category. What a run from Hickey. Sir Newell coming in 4th. Yeah, he's close to the podium, but not quite. Gardner of Ireland coming through for 6th. And here they are fighting up the home straight. The battle between Britain and Spain is very, very tight for the team medal. Great efforts there from Vicosia, Rowley, Guitares and Lewis, all trying to get their points. It's going to be very, very close. Spaniards packed 3 very close there. We'll have to see whether Isabel Holt of Great Britain, the 3rd across the line, has done enough to rejig those team standings. A lot of tired bodies here across the line. I'm really, really impressed by the pace judgment from the silver and bronze medalists behind Innes Fitzgerald, Lucy Patul and Emma Hickey. They did very well to get themselves up onto the podium. We've been told kind of unofficially up on our system that the team medal will go with the individual champion and Great Britain. But it was ferocious there between the Spaniards and the Brits. They would have been told by their team management, you know, every position counts. You've got to fight all the way to the line.
Yeah, unofficially, I think Great Britain have taken it with 33 points to Spain's 38 and Sweden's 43. Is that right? That would be an astonishing result for Sweden.
Sir Newell was great 4th place from Sir Newell, and there were a couple of other bright yellow vests. I'm not sure I've ever seen Sweden on the. There they are. They have had a medal previously, Sweden, back in 2013. Be interesting to see quite how close Ireland got. Ireland had a brilliant couple in the top 6, but Innes Fitzgerald celebrating alongside her teammates that hat-trick of individual titles. And the stranglehold that Great Britain has had on this team title. Pretty dominant as well.
By the way, Erla, the German who blasted off almost suicidally, I think, from the gun, ended up in 10th place, 54 seconds down on Innes Fitzgerald. That was more a reflection upon the great running of Fitzgerald than Erla's inability to sustain her pace. It was a brave, aggressive run from the mountain running specialist, but just inside the top 10, Julia Erla.
And this age group is going to totally change now with the graduation of Innes Fitzgerald up to the under-23s or the under-20s if she chooses, or the seniors if she chooses to. It's going to change this event because the past 3 years it's been who is brave enough to go with Innes Fitzgerald and how can they hold it together in that final 5 or 6 minutes. And Erla, like you say, she had a go today. It didn't quite work. Even Yahiz, the Turkish woman, she tried to go aggressively, and it was actually those that held back ever so slightly that came through and were really rewarded with the medals. There's Fitzgerald, huge winning margin for the Brit, her 3rd consecutive title. She takes the gold, Lucy Patel of France the silver, and Emma Hickey of Ireland, Ireland's first ever individual medal in this event, rewarded with 3rd place. Beth Lewis was in a titanic battle with Maria Vecchiosa, Mara Rori and Claudia Gutierrez for the team points. And how important is it? Beth Lewis found a little bit extra to split those Spanish counters. Andrea Nygaard V, good run for the Norwegian, just outside the top 20.
Do you know, when you look at how the next British athletes to finish behind Innes Fitzgerald, I mean, the next was Beth Lewis in 12th place. And it shows how vital every single place is. You know, you might be down in 15th, 20th, 25th. You've got to battle for every place in that last 50, 100 metres because it could affect your team result very, very significantly. That's a brilliant run from Innes.
I'd love to know the shift between relief and excitement there from Fitzgerald. I think she would have known she was one of the heaviest favourites we've got today, and perhaps Nadia Batacletti in the senior women's as well. But Patel looked delighted with her silver, and Emma Hickey slightly disbelieving there with her bronze, but she absolutely deserved it for the way she paced herself in that race.
That's an astonishing run by Lucy Patorel of France, because her best 1500 is 4:25. I mean, it's nowhere near international standard. Her best 10K on the roads is 37:05. She was 6th in the French Junior 1500 last year. She has run out of her skin, the young athlete from Rouen. Brilliant.
That's what I love. It takes 4 or 5 years for it all to come out in the wash, but we see these names here in these junior races, and then they just go on and on and on, and you say, well, yeah, of course I knew that was going to happen. And even Nadia Batacletti, she did very well through the age groups. She battled away, and then suddenly, in the last couple of years, she's become a world force with those world medals. And, Lucy Patorel, she's followed in good footsteps there, picking up a medal in this event.
Not a massive winning margin, though, was it, for the British team over the Spanish? 33 to 38 points. Sweden, a good third. They're bronze medals for the Swedes. That's fabulous. 44 points to them. Trying to see when the last time the Swedes got medals. Well, they got the bronze medals, actually, a couple of years ago.
I am Nadia Batogritti. Sign up now to the European Athletics YouTube channel.